We're here in Abiquiu in northern New Mexico, which is a magical area. This is known as Georgia O'Keeffe country, beloved to the great artist Georgia O'Keeffe. This trail is called Chimney Rock Trail, and we're gonna get started right away on an incline. So if you're on a tread, go ahead and start to bring your incline up ever so slightly so that you're still at a warm-up pace, but we're immediately firing up the posterior chain, the glutes, the hamstrings, and starting to climb. Chimney Rock Trail is at Ghost Ranch, which is on the famous grounds that Georgia O'Keeffe really fell in love with when she came out to New Mexico from New York back in the first half of the 20th century. So keep yourself in warm-up pace, but start to lengthen your stride as the incline comes up. Take in our first moment of view here. The clouds are just starting to part for us a little bit. We're gonna get a beautiful sunset on this hike. Take it in. Everest is always about 100 steps ahead of us, setting the pace, but I wanna keep you in warm-up pace for now. Don't be afraid to start to bring your incline up. I'm gonna work from a scale of 0 to 10 as we walk together. So both in terms of your effort level and in terms of the incline. So think of two different scales. Scale of 0 to 10, both for effort and for incline. I'll let you know what I mean by that. I'm already huffing and puffing with you. It's gonna level out in just a second here. So if you think of your incline as a scale of 0 to 10, take yourself right now to about a 4 or a 5 on your incline. So it's starting with a pretty steep incline, but your effort level is at about a 1 to 3 out of 10. So how do we do that? Start to deepen your breath, lengthen your breath. That intention is going to start to bring the heart rate down so the body can work at a sustainable pace, even though you're on an incline, even though you're working hard. Apply to all, right? Deepen the breath, lengthen the breath, and feel the heart rate start to stabilize. Take in this first view that we have of Chimney Rock here. So this is on the grounds of Ghost Ranch, and the view is only going to get better as we go. Georgia O'Keeffe is a patron saint of mine. I've kind of followed in her footsteps. She left New York City really right as her career was starting to take off. So it was such a brave move to leave kind of the center of where there was already an established network, right, to really get her work out into the world. But when she came out to New Mexico, she felt this deep spiritual stirring and this sense of her true self, her core self come alive in a way that it hadn't ever before, and knew that this place was going to nourish her work and most importantly nourish her creative work in a way like she'd never experienced. So it was an act of faith for her to come out to the desert and trust that her work was going to be powerful enough to call an audience to it. This is huge. Trust that her heart's work was going to be powerful enough here in this place to call its own audience to it, that she didn't have to stay in the place where the audience already was, but she could go out and trailblaze into the wilderness. Such faith, right? Here's what I want you to hear. Your heart's work calls your heart's people. Your heart's work is going to connect you with your heart's people. So if you feel that stirring of visionary work that there maybe hasn't already been a category for, I want to encourage you today to pursue it and to trust the work itself to call an audience to it, to trust your work to bring you to your people. I know that that's been so true for me with so many of you connecting with my work that has felt increasingly original and authentic to my heart. Let's move into that today. We're just starting to exit the warm-up. So keep your incline right about where it's at. It should be about a 5 on a scale of 0 to 10. So you're definitely moving uphill, you're definitely climbing, but start to bring your effort level, so maybe the intensity or the speed at which you're walking, up a level or 2. So your effort level is about a 4 or a 5. Still very sustainable, just that short step out of warm-up mode. It's a good sign when you have to start to vent the vest. Deep breath into both this work out and this work in. So start to arrive, becoming fully present to this place and noticing what's going on the ground, noticing what's going on along the ridges. Notice what's going on in the sky. The sky is our ocean here in New Mexico in Big Sky Country. The theme I'd like for us to explore on this Chimney Rock hike is release. So this series is called Desert Wisdom, this series through New Mexico. And we're absorbing the wisdom of the desert. We're noticing how this place grows and flourishes and blooms, how this place is sculpted, and letting it teach us how to live in challenge, how to live in adversity, how to live in desert seasons. Release is so important to that. The desert is going to ask you what is excessive and what is essential. So this hike, I want to invite you to really get clear on what it is that you want to release, what it is that you want to burn and allow to go up through the chimney, right? It's a burning place. It's a release place. So as we start to really climb here, and I encourage you to bring your incline up another notch. So you're at about a 6 out of 10 incline. Just for a moment here. So we're going to do a short climb, short intensified climb. And as you really start to work, as you start to dig in, and maybe you also bring your intensity level up another level as well. As you really start to work, I'm going to give you a moment. I'm not going to talk for the next minute or two as we go through this intense part of the climb. Here's my question for you. What is no longer serving in your life? What is excessive? What is it time to release, to burn? And as you feel your body really starting to work in this intensity and the intensity of this climb, let it be a fire that burns with release. Start to get clear on what you want to open your hands, and maybe you don't know what's going to come in to take its place, right? Maybe you're not even at the point of trusting that something will come in to take its place. First step, create space, release. What is excessive so that you can hold space for what is essential. Let's climb. Everest is leading the way. Bring your incline up one more notch. So you're at a 7 out of 10. This is an intense moment right now. Feel the fire inside of you start to burn. Stoke it, invite it, welcome it. Come on. Our bodies are made for efficiency. Sometimes we can hold on to what's no longer serving because we feel like it keeps us safe, right? It's kind of cushion. Let it go. Okay, bring your incline back down just 1 point. So you're at a 6 out of 10. But you're out of that super intense fire we were just in. Deepen the breath. Fires are burning. I dropped a layer. Let's keep climbing. There's two kind of queen trees of the northern New Mexican desert, the high desert. You have the pinon, pine, and the juniper. This is juniper right here. And we'll find some pinon on the trail as well. And I'm pointing them out because the juniper, there's a pinon. The juniper are the hardiest trees probably in the world. Most of the junipers that we'll see on this hike, and especially as we get higher, look half dead or completely dead. The whole tree can look dead, and it has maybe like one little branch that's still fully alive and blooming leaves. Such an incredible image of resilience, right? These trees live to be very, very old. And you'll notice too, the trunks twist beautifully into these forms that show how they have been sculpted and shaped by the elements. So they're incredible examples of bending and not breaking, and enduring and enduring and enduring. So some of these junipers that in wintertime look essentially dead still have so much life. They're rooted deeply, so deep into sources of hydration, right? That we would never guess is below the surface. But they know how to nourish themselves through desert seasons so that they can bloom year after year. Yucca plants are these little kind of Dr. Seussian afros. Similarly, they'll go years without sprouting up a flower, and then one flower will just come up so gloriously. Another symbol of resilience. Somehow Everest does all of this at a run. Notice the whole palette of the desert, the high desert. Notice how many shades of white and cream and browns and grays and light greens, the lichen that's growing on the rocks, the very, very light mint green of the leaves that are in winter dormancy. Notice the subtleties of this landscape. It's something I love so much about the desert, is that from a distance, it can just kind of all look dead, right? And then you get up close and you see there's so much life that's been adapted to this dry, high place, this arid, high altitude place. such an example that we have this capacity in us. We have this capacity of resilience, and we have this capacity to continue to bloom in a subtle palette that is its own kind of beauty when we're in a desert season. Desert plants tend to live for a long time. They practice that resilience. So right now I want you to amp up your incline to a 7 or even an 8 right now, just for about 1 minute as we come through this intense part of our climb. Let the intensity rise and practice rooting in deeply. I'm breathing hard with you. I'm climbing hard with you. You're halfway through this intense section of climb. Stay with it. Bring your upper body into the climb. So start to pump your arms, keeping your hands loose, open, so there's not any tension in your body. Notice if you're carrying any tension anywhere, maybe in the neck, the shoulders. Exhale it, put everything into the legs. Climb powerfully. We're so lucky to get to do this hike in this light. Breathe big, breathe regally, breathe expansively. Beautiful work. Let your incline drop down to about a 5. So you're gonna keep climbing. I'm gonna pause with you just so you can take in this view. So well earned. Wow. Take a water break if you haven't yet. You can do it as you're walking, as you're climbing, but drop the intensity just slightly. Notice the shades of these mountains. Looks like a permanent sunrise or sunset, right? All of the colors fading into each other. Beautiful. Let's climb on. Onward. Heartward. The road's evening out a little bit, so enjoy that. Your incline somewhere between 4 to 5. Not quite flat, but you're definitely giving your posterior chain a little bit of a break. Effort level also at around a 5. Are you getting clear on what you want to be releasing instead of what you want to release? Because release is a practice, just like anything else, right? We usually have that first impulse to release something. We have that first glimpse of wisdom that I need to let this thing go. But it's a practice of releasing. It's a practice of letting go. We usually open our hands just a little bit and then find ourselves holding on to it again, returning to it, and then we open our hands again, we release, and then we return to it out of habit. But it's so beautiful to consider the cycle of the moons, which over every tradition for all of human history has been a process of ceremony of at the new moon planting and at the full moon releasing. And that's always been this great consolation to me, that it's normal to have a practice of releasing and to have a practice of planting, a practice of intention setting, that these things need to be practiced. What we practice, we become, right? So I want to encourage you, if you have released this thing before and you're coming back to it again to freshly release it, practice the release. Chimney Rock in view, that mesa up there is where we're headed. So we have a ways to go, but start to practice your exhale as this process of releasing. Maybe it's one thing, maybe it's many things that on the course of this hike today, you want to open your hands, you want to open your body to release. So it's through moving and exhaling and letting it go and maybe throwing some sound, some noise into it, some ha, that we can actually unstuck the stuff that's deep inside of us that we've been holding on to that's no longer serving. Everest. I'm going to share with you a mantra that has been really powerful for me in a practice of releasing. I release to love. So maybe it's a person, maybe it's a habit, a practice, maybe it's a job. It's something in your life that you keep returning to and you want to practice releasing. And knowing that, especially if it's something that you have taken a kind of responsibility for, you've taken a responsibility that's not serving your highest purpose. This thing isn't yours to carry. You're carrying something that is not necessarily yours. It's so powerful to release it to love. So as we're moving through your inhales, your exhales, you're using this hike today as its own furnace, right? You're releasing. I want to just invite you into this mantra. So whatever it is that you're releasing as we're moving today, and I'm going to give you just a few moments of silence to do this work yourself. I release, fill in whatever it is, to love. I release to love. I release my financial anxiety to love. I release this person to love. I release this habit that I've held on to because it keeps me safe and comfortable to love. Fill in your own. Our climb's getting a little more technical here, so I won't be talking quite as much or turning around quite as much, but I want you to focus on what you are releasing. So slow your pace slightly as we start to climb more steeply and bring the incline up. So your incline is going to be somewhere around a 7 out of 10. It's challenging, but the speed is low enough that it's sustainable. Just breathe big. We're getting into a little bit of snow on the backside of the mountain here. You can get all 4 seasons in one day in northern New Mexico. Take in this mesa that you have hard earned. Take in this light into the space that you've just opened up with your releasing. This is your cool down. So bring your incline down to somewhere between a 2 and a 4. Deep breaths. Celebrate. We don't spend enough time really celebrating the work that we've done. Celebrate what you've done. Take it in. We often are gripping so hard to the comfortable habits and practices that feel like they keep us safe. And one of my love-hate questions, because it hits me where it hurts so often, is does this feel right or does this feel familiar? Does this feel right or does this feel familiar? And what that question illuminates is how often we fall into old patterns that feel safe and we think that they feel right when really they just feel familiar. So what I want to invite you to today in this practice of release everything, release it all, and see what's essential to pick up again. Let's come all the way down to the end of this trail as you let the body cool down, and we'll just take in the spaciousness and the light you've opened up. You're letting the body cool down. Think about what it is that you're facing over the next day, week, this season that you're in right now. And with this spaciousness and having dropped what's not serving, how do you want to show up to the work of your life? How do you want to show up to the creations of your life in this season? What kind of presence, what kind of joy, what kind of lightheartedness do you want to bring? Practice that right now in your body, just as you're coming through this cool down, and let this cool down be a transition into the rest of your day, the rest of this season. Come on. One more juniper tree, 3/4 dead, 1/4 blooming. How ancient is this? Can you even imagine? And another up here. It's no surprise to me that at the top of this mesa, where you're fully exposed to all of the elements, do we see these magnificent junipers, probably centuries old. And what an incredible image of leadership. When you're out in front, when you're at the top, you're fully exposed. Look where you've come. Take it in, Chimney Rock and the Abiquiu Valley behind. this land that has nourished so much creativity and spiritual growth. Deep breath, wherever it is that you're joining me on this hike. I wore these funny little kind of mittens that are attached to my shirt, and I was thinking about it as we're hiking, that this is such a beautiful image of release, right? This is such a beautiful image of how it is that we can hold things in a way that nourishes and energizes rather than depletes us. We can hold things with open hands, constantly asking, is this serving my highest purpose? Is this serving my highest creation? And if not, I open my hands to release, right? I open my hands to release so that I can be open to all that's coming in to support my greatest work. My loves, what an honor to climb with you, to release what's weighing us down, and to open to all that is coming in to energize and support us. I'm Nicole Meline. I would love to hear what this hike ignited in you, what this walk ignited in you, what you are releasing and what you're opening to. So find me on social media, on Instagram, let me know, connect with our altar community, take a big, deep breath of gratitude for what you've just accomplished today as we altar together.